Once again, welcome very much, dear colleagues, to today's webinar. A few housekeeping before we officially begin. Please, as you enter the meeting, ensure your mic is on mute. Ensure your mic is on mute for minimal disruptions during the meeting. Number two, utilize the chat box. If you have any question or comment, please utilize the chat box. And then lastly, all questions that will be asked will be addressed towards the end of the meeting. All right, Mr. Kenneth has a question before we begin. Would you like to ask a question, Mr. Kenneth? Mr. Kenneth, you can unmute and ask the question if you have or a comment. All right, if you're not able to ask the question now, please utilize the chat box. Thank you very much. So the first speaker we're going to have on the panel is Deborah Kerubo. Deborah will tell us more about her educational background, her experience. But from my understanding, Deborah is the youngest person to pass NCLEX with us as Passcode. She will tell us why we say she has been the youngest person so far. So this will encourage other young nurses who are in the call, or those ones who have limited years of experience. And Deborah Kerubo will be telling us about her journey, her NCLEX journey, her experience, and the take-home messages she has for us before we bring in Mr. Humphrey. Deborah, if you can hear me, karibu sana.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. I'm happy to be here. And I'm happy to be here as a USRN. So to start, my name is Deborah Kerubo Orina. I did my BSN in KU, Kenyatta University. I graduated in the year 2021. When I graduated, I had joined internship. As you all know, BSN school for internship, which is 1 year. So I did my internship from July 1st, 2021 to 2022, June, that is 30th June. So while I was doing my internship, I would see the workplace, and I knew where I wanted to take my career. I knew I wanted to further my career to the US. So I was just on my WhatsApp when I saw a poster. Someone had posted about Passcode, about the US journey. That is when I joined the webinar, just a day like this. I just joined the webinar. It was on October. And I got to understand the process. Humphrey really explained the process very well. And he assured, I think we were very little, at least I can see 57 participants. By then we were like 10, 12 participants. So he was able to explain to us that the journey is step by step. There's no, that you will not be hurried. You will be taken along step by step until your final destination. So I took the process and I joined the classes because I was not with any agency. Some of the people that were in the webinar were with the agency, so they had come for the classes. So I joined the classes, which is 4 months, and I started the classes. When I was joining the classes, I was transitioning from a vaccination job to a hospital job. So it was a bit hectic because, you know, the shifts vary, especially when you're on the M shift, the morning off shift. You have to come home late and you need to attend classes. So that was my biggest challenge. But I ensure that when I'm at work, if my shift is going to change and my colleagues have not come, I would ensure by 7, when the classes were starting, I'm somewhere in a corner joining the class. Or sometimes I would join just in a matatu going home because it was 30 minutes. I would put on earphones and just listen to the class. And until the class, 2 hours, 30 minutes, I'll be home and then continue with the class. And then read a few notes and then sleep. So they're saying I'm the youngest NCLEX passer in Passcode because I only had 1 year, not really 1 year. Immediately after registration with the Nursing Council of Kenya, I joined Passcode. So after joining Passcode, I got my ATT, authorization to test, in February, and that's because I delayed it. Otherwise, I could have gotten it earlier. And so my intention with Passcode was to test on March before the next generation NCLEX. But that was unfortunate because I was not able to, because I was not prepared. One of the things that has really made me pass my NCLEX is because I was very honest with my tutor. The one I was assigned to Humphrey, and I was very honest with him. I would tell him, I'm not ready. I don't think we should go to the next step. Let's finish this step first, and then we go to the next. So if you're going to join this program, I would urge you to be very honest. Don't lie to yourself. Don't feel like you have the pressure to go do the exam. Eventually, you'll go do that exam. But you being prepared is the important thing above all. Just always be honest with yourself and be honest with the tutor. That's the first step, because even if a class is over and you have not understood the content and you just don't talk to the tutor, it's going to be a big problem. Always be honest. If you have not understood, you can write an email. I think I wrote a few emails and they got replied. And even when I was booking my exam, I knew I was. Even my tutor would see that I was ready because we had walked the journey together. That's one thing I love about Passcode. You walk the journey together. They will not abandon you at any point. They do give you your private space to evaluate yourself, to know that you're ready to gauge yourself by yourself before they intervene. So don't ever lie, just be honest. And also accept help. I remember I was gravid. I had so many challenges and I was working at the emergency department. So coming late from work, going early to work was a bit a challenge because when you're gravid, you fatigue is always there. So I accepted help. I had friends. I had sisters who would sometimes help me with activities of daily living or house chores. Don't burden yourself. If you have help, please accept it. Don't try to deny help or try hiding your status or because you don't want people to know you're studying for NCLEX. Just don't do that. Accept help and it will really help you so much. I know some of us, it's tough economic era and you'll be tempted to take extra shifts. And I had where I work, you can take extra shifts. So I was tempted to take extra shifts, but I knew if I do take extra shifts, I will not be able to do NCLEX and pass it. So I dropped some shifts. I remember, I will not advise you to do this, but I resigned from work just to concentrate on NCLEX because I was, my shifts were very intense for a certain, in December, that I did not attend most classes. And my teacher was very, very worried. He called me and asked me, you've not been submitting assignments. I think I'm worried. We are halfway. We are more than halfway the classes and I don't see your active participation. So I resigned my work. That's a personal decision to really focus on my health and studying, which helped me a lot. So I texted a few classmates. They will be testing soon. We formed a group, and now 3 of us were very determined. We would wake up every day 4 a.m. in the morning to study and discuss. Everyone had a day to lead discussions, to teach each other on things that we did not understand on the previous topic. So every day 4 a.m. we could discuss. Some of them were, I remember sometimes they would be on night shift. I was the only one who was at home, and they would really still interact. If it was not possible, they would tell me, we're going home to sleep. We're from night shift at 12 noon. Let's do the discussion for the 2 to 3 hours. And we did that every single day. We used to discuss until I think a few weeks ago. What else I did? I utilized the materials that I was provided with Passcode. I remember I joined a webinar where someone who had passed NCLEX was speaking, and the lady really had failed and was doing for the second time with Passcode. So she said she read Sounders and she really knew that book in and out. I took that advice. I sat down and said, I'm going to understand the content in this book. I don't want to read it for the sake of reading. I really want to understand the content. So I took that book. I started backwards from the last page to the first page. So I started with the last topics to the first topic. That's how I used Sounders. Also the videos, the goodness of Passcode, the videos are usually saved. You can always go back and watch them at your own leisure if you were not able to attend the classes. So I used to go back and watch those videos and really catch up if I did not understand a content. Also, question banks. There are very many question banks. I remember my friends who were studying with would use different question banks. Some would use same, but also they had different. So I bought a question bank. I utilized all the questions. I bought another question bank. I utilized all the questions. Not really all, but most of the questions, a greater percentage. And there's something about the questions that would really make you feel comfortable about NCLEX. You would see a certain consistency in the way they ask the questions. So that really makes you familiar, but it does not give you the knowledge that you need. You need to go back to the books and really understand the content. And there's something that people make mistake, especially those of us practicing in the clinical area, because sometimes the content, the practices that we make in the hospital, they stray away from the NCLEX rationale. So never carry whatever you practice in the clinical to NCLEX, because that's a red flag. That's one way of failing. So you just have to abandon most of your practices at your local facilities and take NCLEX as a whole thing, as a different thing. Not really different, but just as a different thing. I think I used to do, not I really think, I did. 2 months to my exam, after scheduling my exam, I used to do 85 questions every day, because the new generation has 85 questions minimum. So I used to do every morning 85 questions. Every morning I would wake up at 5 after breastfed my baby and given the baby to my nanny. Actually, my baby was, I think when I scheduled my exam, my baby was 1 month old. That's when I started, that's when I scheduled my exam, when my baby was 1 month old. So I would breastfeed the baby, give the baby to my mother-in-law or my helper to babysit for me. And I would do 85 questions in the morning first, before anything. When the mind is fresh, when I'm able to be able to critically think, and then I would review them later in the day, pole too, as the day go by. I would review 20 questions, relax, another 20 until they're over. Some of this advice is not new that I'm giving you. Some of it I borrowed it from previous NCLEX passers. I did not use my own strategies. I would also ask my peers, what are you doing? What are you doing now to study? Because among the Passcode community, I call it a community because the people I was in class with, I still talk to them up to date. So it's a community. Among the Passcode community, I would ask people, what are you actually doing? I cannot understand pharmacology. What are you actually doing? And they will give me tips. So don't really depend on yourself. Depend on your peers and your colleagues. They'll give you advice that can really save you when studying for NCLEX. Another thing for when you're studying NCLEX and you're not understanding a concept, the best thing is just go back to the content first. When you go back to the content, study it, do a few questions. You can abandon that day doing general questions and focus on that topic. You can go to that topic, study, do a few questions to test if you've really understood. If you see you have not understood, then this is where I think the tutors in Passcode come in. Just write an email, say, I think I have a problem here. I really need help. For me, from the first day, I didn't understand EKGs and pediatrics. So I would really tell Humphrey, I don't understand EKGs. I really don't understand EKGs. So what he did to make me understand the EKGs, because I had many questions of EKGs, he told me, I want you to go back to the book, study the anatomy, study the EKGs from zero, and I want you to come teach. I didn't get a chance to teach my peers, but the fact that he told me I'm supposed to teach, I went back, I studied hard. I assumed I'm a teacher, and soon I grasped the content slowly. And I remember I was doing the exam on a Thursday. So on a Wednesday, on a Tuesday night, I had a call with one of the Passcode tutors. And he really, really took me through the EKGs once more. And it was not in vain. So don't ever shy when you don't understand something. It does not mean you're stupid or you're foolish. Because me, I thought to myself, I've been taught this thing 4 times, 5 times. I'm not really understanding. Am I really stupid? Am I really foolish? What am I doing not right? And the best thing is to be easy on yourself. Be really easy on yourself. Don't judge yourself. Everybody, even someone who's been in the field for 10 years, there are some things you want to really understand. So be easy on yourself and don't be too harsh, and don't actually, just be honest. Just say, I don't understand this thing. And don't judge yourself when you don't understand it. Just believe that you'll do it. And I would say I used to postpone when I was not able to test in March. I decided I postponed to May, which I did not test in May. I came to test in July. One of the reasons is because I was not ready. Another reason is my teacher told me, I think you're really not ready. I think you need to study. You have deficits on some topics. Some you're good, some you're not good. I need you to go back and study again. And so that's what I did. What else have I not said? So actually you can also do everything possible to pass NCLEX. Actually, you can sacrifice yourself because if you really don't put your heart and your mind into NCLEX, chances are you're going to fail. Just it's an investment, I would say. So put your everything in. If anything will help you pass, you're going to utilize it. I would text Dennis. Dennis, I think, is the administrator of Passcode. Every day, Dennis sent me notes, slides for this unit. Send me slides for this unit. Because sometimes reading a book was tedious, so I needed the slides to be able to grasp content quickly. And for me, maternity is really my strength. So I didn't take a lot of time studying maternity. So when you have a strength in a certain area, don't take a lot of time, because time is also limited. Right now, I understand an ATT is 3 months, and like mine was 6 months. So don't take time on things that are your strength. Maternity was my strength, and I did not take a lot of time studying it. I took it to pediatrics, which is really my weakness, and cardiovascular system and pharmacology, which is my weakness. And when many people would say pharmacology is hard, it's true, hard for me also. So the tactics I used in pharmacology, I would say I went system by system. I did not go classification of drugs. I went system by system. And one thing I noted about pharmacology is NCLEX likes asking questions of, they want a safe nurse. Actually, the US wants a safe nurse, a nurse who knows what he or she is doing, a nurse who's able to see an adverse reaction and intervene appropriately according to priority. So you have to be a safe nurse. You have to know, if I give this to this will happen. So that is what I really concentrated on. I ensured that those specific things that look like an area of concern in pharmacology, that's what I grasped. And I said, I have to know. I do not give this medication when someone has hyperkalemia. That is what I need to know. So that is what despite knowing what the medication is, the indication of the medication, I really wanted to know what is it what is the contraindication. So as much as you want to know the mechanism of action, don't forget everything. NCLEX will ask everything from A to Z. They will not leave those small things you assume. Those are the things they want to know. So when I realized those are the things they really want to know, those are the things I really focused on. I stopped focusing on the common things like mechanism of action, which I read, but I stopped focusing more on them and started focusing on the small things that really the NCLEX really wants. And sometimes you would really want to connect. When you find a question, you would really want to connect. This question is asking like this, but what did my teacher tell me? What do we do at our hospital? You don't do that. The content that you'll be given, the books that you'll read, the materials that Passcode will share, that is what you will refer to. NCLEX is based in the US, and they have their own system. So you have to integrate into it. Don't compare it here. You will fail if you really want to start asking yourself, but this is what we usually do. And then you select that answer. Actually, that answer will be there and it will be wrong. And finally, apart from group work, accepting help, what I did on the exam day in the morning, I slept that day the entire time. I slept the whole night. I actually slept for 10 hours because the nurses I met there, one told me that the reason why she failed was she read up to last minute, so she was fatigued when she went to the exam room, and she, unfortunately, she did not pass. And one of them also told me she panicked when the exam did not stop at 85, so that's why she did not pass. So that day I slept for 10 hours, went to the exam room fresh. I woke up actually at 5 a.m. to make breakfast, eat. My belly was full, my mind was fresh, my body was fresh, and I went to the exam room. So when my exam did not stop at 85, I did not tense. I just took a short break. I relaxed my mind. About 5 minutes, then I resumed. And I actually told myself I'm not going to count when my exam will stop. I'm actually going to do the question to the best of my ability. There's that anxiety looking at which question is this? Which question is this? Is this question 89, 90, 91? Until you panic when you see it's going beyond 120, 140. So this might be useful later. Don't panic. Take a break. And for me, I did not count. I can't even remember where my exam stopped at, but I'm pretty sure it's between 89 and 90 because I did about 4 or 5 questions before my exam shut. And I remember calling my tutor and telling him, I think I'll be the first one to fail in this program. Ever since January, we have passes, because every student who has done, I think, that I've interacted with, they have passed, the one we were in the same program. So I told myself, I think I'm the first one to be a disappointment. And I called my tutor back in Kenya. I was in South Africa. I told him I'm going to fail. And he told me that's how it is, that's how you feel. So when he spoke to me like that, I relaxed. I remembered how I used to do the mock adaptive exams every morning, and I used to relax. I said, I think I'm going to relax because if I panic, there's nothing I can do. I've already done the exam. So I relaxed and slept. And when I woke up, I had a good email that I had passed. And and I shared it with my tutor. That's the first person I shared it with because he had walked this journey with me. Every week, he would write me an email to ask my progress. And when he did not write me an email, I would really call him and tell him, when do you have, I would call him and ask him, when do you have classes? Because I think I finished my classes in March and they still had classes and they would allow you to join. And I would really join all the classes again and again. I joined all the classes until they were over. The classes are really summarized in a way that you need the key elements in that specific lesson. So when you go to a class and they teach you about something, take those notes, go back to your own notes, and make sure you know everything about that little thing they've told you. I don't know if I could have made it without Passcode, honestly. I think that's all. If you have any questions, I would be able to answer. I think I've given my experience with Passcode, my biodata, and how I passed NCLEX. If you'd want a summary to write down, I would say group work. 1 is group work, accept help. And if you know you're testing soon, don't take extra shifts, don't strain yourself, because passing NCLEX will be more important than extra points. Be honest with yourself and the tutor and your tutor. The tutor will be able to guide you because if you're not honest and you just go blindly, you fail. And then utilize all materials provided. Don't over read materials. So many people will tell you use this, that. So you're going to confuse yourself. For me, I used the materials I used are sounders, question banks. I used 2 question banks, that is Archer at NASA Chief. I used the Passcode classes. I used Passcode classes. I actually attended the 4-month classes. And when they were over, another team started classes. I also requested to be in that class because my exam date had not come. So I utilized around 6 months of classes. I did 85 to 120 questions every morning. When I began doing the questions, I used to do 30, 20, 40, but I came up to 85. By the 3rd, 4th month, 5th month, I was at 120 questions every day. The last month I tested, I used to do 160 questions every morning, every day, not every morning. I used to do not really 160, 170, 85 in the morning, 85 in the afternoon. And yeah, that's what I will tell you. And note your strengths, not your weaknesses. Ensure you perfect all your areas. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Kerubo. That is quite inspiring. We've all heard about her unique journey and the unique circumstances she was in. Just after internship with only 1 year experience and probably a few months post internship, the journey through motherhood at the same time, she's going through the NCLEX journey, and she was able to pass on her first attempt. I believe we have been inspired. We have gotten tips from her. She also learned from other people who had been there before. I remember there's a webinar we held last year, and we had some of our candidates who had sat for NCLEX and failed several times, sharing their experience and what they did until they passed. So at this point, I'd like to invite Mr. Humphrey. Mr. Humphrey will have a presentation about the questions you are asking on the NCLEX program with Passcode, what Passcode does, how Passcode will be able to support you, and the few things that Kerubo has been able to mention. Once again, I'd like to reiterate, can you please ensure your microphone is on mute to minimize disruptions during the meeting. If you have any questions, continue posting them in the chat box and we'll be able to address them live during the call. Karibu sana, Humphrey.
Okay, thank you very much, Donald, for giving me this opportunity. I hope that I am audible enough.
Please. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to do very fast 2 presentations about the business of today. First of all, I introduce myself. My name is Humphrey Nkonge. I'm a registered nurse in Kenya. First, where I studied my BSN degree at the University of Nairobi. And I'm also a registered nurse in the US, in the state of Texas. And as I also serve as the director of programs at Passcode Global Consultants. So I'll be talking briefly about Passcode, and then later I will talk about the NCLEX exam, as well as the NCLEX Review Program by Passcode Consultants. So before I speak, I wish to take this opportunity to congratulate Deborah Kerubo for passing our exam. I remember very well when she started the program with us. Actually, we had the webinar. She's saying people were few. We had a webinar on a weekday. It was not on a Sunday, and once we presented, Deborah actually paid for consultation. She paid for follow-up consultation. She paid us. We had a 1-hour consultation. She asked all the questions she had. I think there were 3 at that particular time. And she made the decision to start the program with us. And she is the youngest of our NCLEX passers in terms of experience. I wish to congratulate her for taking that step, because not many have had that courage to start the program when they are very young in terms of experience. So what is it about Passcode Global Consultants? Our vision is to become a leading gate pass for global nursing practice and experience. And by this is because we try to bridge the gap of the opportunities that are available abroad and the kind of oversupply of nurses or labor, nursing labor in some countries. While some countries have excess of nurses, some of them not, most of them not employed, others in hidden unemployment. You are thinking you are employed, but you are really unemployed because you are not even able to meet the basic needs with what you are getting in your employment. So we try to bridge that gap. And for that reason, our mission is to inspire and empower nurses towards the exploitation of global nursing opportunities. This is because there are gaps that exist between the market and what the market is looking for. For instance, if we can narrow down to the US market, they are looking at 1, a nurse who is experienced. They are looking at 2, a nurse who has passed NCLEX. They are looking at 3, a nurse who has passed the English exam, be it IELTS or OET. So we operate with some core values, which include excellence, teamwork, empathy, but not sympathy, honesty, and human dignity. So why do we exist? We exist because nurses in most of the countries in Africa and Asia need jobs, and those jobs are very much available globally. So we exist to give information about those jobs and help you to make an informed decision, so that when you go to the other side, you don't start regretting and saying, I wish I knew. One of the regrets that people do, like you'll see for our NCLEX program, is a self-sponsored program, is when they sign contracts with agents. Some people sign contracts when they really don't have information on what they are signing. A 3-year contract that may need you to stay with that agent for those 3 years. And if you breach that contract, you have to pay them back the money. And probably you are being paid $50 an hour, but all the money is not coming to you. That's an information gap. So we also realize that the process is tough. It has many challenges, bumps, bottlenecks, and we are trying to make it smoother by doing the process for you at a small fee so that you can concentrate on the reading part. Because if you do all the things by yourself, then you will not have the time to study. And we have seen that in our trend of NCLEX passers. If you compare with what happens in other, with some other providers of this program. So at the same time, most agents that hire nurses from outside the US, they have very tough conditions. For instance, if you are a degree holder and you only found a job at a clinic, and that's the job you found at that particular time, you have the capability of passing the NCLEX, then the agency cannot take you because you don't work in a big hospital. But we ask ourselves, if this person can be assisted to pass NCLEX, they can go to the big hospital later, get the 6 months or 1 year experience needed and go to the US, rather than when you are told you cannot be taken. And you know, if you leave that job, probably you don't have another job. And the process is long, about 18 months. So you cannot say, let me leave this job, I go volunteer to a big hospital, so that I can be taken by the agency. That is not possible because you need to eat, you need to pay rent. So we came up with a program that can be able to facilitate you even when you work in a small hospital. And we found also that some NCLEX programs with many agents are not effective because training a nurse in the US is costly. Getting tutors from the US is costly. Most of the people who pass NCLEX, they want to go to the US. So some agents, what they do, they just give you the books and then you have to study by yourself. So if you don't know the study strategy, how to do it and what exactly to study, then it might be difficult for you to pass the NCLEX. So our program focuses on how to study and what exactly are you going to study. So we guide you on how to meet the requirements of these countries that have jobs, so that when those employers are hiring, they find nurses who are ready for the market. When the hirers or the people who are hiring, the employers come here to hire, and then they find you that you already have NCLEX, you have IELTS, you have your visa screen, then your process can take even 8 months, because it means they will just start your immigration process. The reason why the US process takes 18 months is because most of the people who are hired, they don't have the NCLEX. So the NCLEX process will take them about 8 months. Then the immigration process takes them about 10 months or something like that. That's how you get the 18 months. But if you already have the NCLEX, the immigration process will take you about 8 to 10 months, and you move to the other side. So what do? We provide information for free, like what we are doing here now. We also have a paid consultation or information session. You realize that there's a lot of information you need to know when you're migrating to the US. Probably your situation is different from the other person. Maybe you are a family of 5 people. Another person is a family of 1 person, just themselves. So your situation is different. So if you go to a hospital, you are being paid $40 an hour. You are single. You cannot compare your situation with someone who is married with 3 children, because that person will be feeding 5 people. While for you who you are single, you would be feeding just 1 person. So we usually do these kinds of information sessions, paid information sessions. We explain to you about the cost of living. We explain to you about how your spouse is going to get a job and such things. Apart from the US process, we do the UK process. I'll jump the US process now because there's another slide I'm going to show you about the US process. For the UK process, we can talk about it another day, but we also facilitate the UK process registrations, NMC-CBT, training and registrations, and also IELTS training or OET. That is Occupational English Test. So these are our contacts. Our phone number is there, email, our Facebook page, as well as our website, okay? So that's just a simple introduction about Passcode. So I will now request that I be allowed to talk about how NCLEX works, okay? Because that was the main topic, or one of the topics that we were to talk about today. I will not take much of your time, but I'm going to do it as fast as I can, because actually, once you join our program, we are going to talk about how the NCLEX works for 1 hour during the orientation week. Can I kindly ask the person who is talking there to mute themselves? Thank you. Okay. So that's about me. And the phone number there is my personal number. So this slide summarizes everything you need to know about NCLEX registrations. If you want to take the the NCLEX exam, how do you register for this exam? Remember, at Passcode, what we do is a self-sponsored program for the NCLEX. You pay the costs, we assist you at a small fee. We don't sponsor for the process. We are not a sponsoring agent. We are a processing company. We help you to process for the NCLEX and become a US registered nurse. So the process of registering for the NCLEX is actually a multi-step process. The very first step is the step of document verification. You are verifying two types of documents. Number one, your nursing license. You must be having a nursing license in your country. So if you're in Kenya, you need to be having a license issued by the Kenya Nursing Council, the Nursing Council of Kenya. And you can be a diploma holder, 3 years diploma minimum, or you can be a degree holder. Or you can be a certificate holder, but you have done your diploma. So you'll be having the license for the certificate and the diploma. So one type of document that will be verified is your license. There are two bodies that do the verification. One is called CGFNS, the other one is called JSA. What will they be looking at? They will be looking at, is this person licensed by the licensing body in their country? Has their license ever been suspended? Have they ever received any disciplinary action? Is their license genuine? The other type of document you'll be verifying is your transcript. They will be looking at, when did this person attend nursing school? What kind of nursing school did they attend? Is it licensed by the regulator in that country? They will also be looking at the units you did as a nurse. Did you meet the standards that are required in the US in terms of theory hours as well as clinical hours? So when you take your transcript from the School of Nursing, make sure that all the units you did are recorded. Do not assume that because your classmates were accepted by the CGFNS, that you'll also be accepted, because they analyze it on a case-by-case basis. So once your documents are sent to CGFNS or JSA, a process which we assist you to do, you get a report called CES report. That stands for Credential Evaluation Report. So once you get your Credential Evaluation Report, we register you with the Board of Nursing in the US. Every state in the US has a Board of Nursing. That's the Nursing Council of that board. So as I was saying, every nursing council, every state in the US has a Board of Nursing. So once we look at your credentials, your experience, and all the other factors that we should look at, we are able to advise the best board for you. So once we register with the board, there's an exam that the board requires you to do. Some boards, not all. It's called a jurisprudence exam, so you do that exam. Another process that every board will need you to do is an exam, is a process called criminal background check. So our office is in Nairobi City, building called KTDA Plaza, which is along Moi Avenue on the junction of Ronald Garrett Street, not Ronald, yeah. So we will give you the physical FBI cards, and these cards will allow you, I mean, you are going to go with those cards to a police station or a CID station, and then your fingerprints will be taken, and you are going to send your cards back to the US for analysis. So once you pass that process, you have done the exam, your CS report is out, then the board is going to issue you a document called ATT, authorization to test. So the authorization to test is going to allow you now, it's like an examination card. It allows you to go schedule your exam in any center in the world and take your exam. So what we consider when we are scheduling your exam, we consider the proximity, because in Africa, we have only one center, that is in South Africa. So we schedule people in South Africa. We also schedule people in India, because India is as well nearer. if you consider the flight costs from many countries in Africa, going to India, they're almost the same as going to South Africa, especially for people in East Africa and West Africa. So India has many centers, about 18 of them. So we schedule you, but before we schedule you, we make sure that we have assessed you, as I'm going to tell you when I show you the slide on our NCLEX review program. So you go do the exam and you pass. That's the end of phase 1, which is the pre-NCLEX process or phase. So the post-NCLEX phase, you do the English exam, which is IELTS or OET, and then we apply for you a document called a visa screen certificate. But at that point, your employer might take over the whole process and do it for you, depending on the terms of that employer. So once you pass the NCLEX, you can decide to look for a job by yourself, or you can ask us to get a job for you. We don't charge for that because the jobs in the US are so many. The main challenge is because people have not passed NCLEX, and you must pass NCLEX for you to practice in the US. So how do you pass the NCLEX exam? The person who spoke before me has elaborated most of the things that you need to do once you pass the NCLEX. But from our side, there are these points that I feel I need to talk about. One of them is that you need to understand the NCLEX curriculum. So at Passcode Consultants, we teach the NCLEX curriculum. There are some other people who provide NCLEX review services, but what they do, they just choose a few hard topics, the topics that arouse emotions. Then they teach those topics. But for us, that is not what we do. Actually, for those topics, we keep on repeating them. But once you join our program, we teach you the entire NCLEX curriculum. We call it NCLEX curriculum because what you studied in school in your 3-year diploma or in your 5-year degree or 4-year degree, there are some things that are taught in the US, which you do in the NCLEX, which were not taught in your school curriculum. So we have the NCLEX curriculum, and that is what we teach for a 4-month program. We show you the right materials so that you are not overwhelmed, because we are living at the age of information when there's a lot of information in the internet. If you want to read all the books, you'll be overwhelmed. If you go to YouTube, you want to use all the channels, you'll be overwhelmed. If you don't know how to study for the NCLEX, you'll be overwhelmed, or you can study so much and you don't pass your exam because you don't know the must-knows for the NCLEX. So we show you enough, just enough, not a lot of, but just enough NCLEX materials which you need to concentrate on and pass the exam. And we measure on content materials and NCLEX questions materials. So you must have the will and commitment to study. The people we have worked with have been very committed so far to the study. Of course, we have had 1 or 2 that have not been committed. Some of them have not scheduled their exams because they also know that if they go take the exam and they have not studied well, they are going to fail. So the investment you're making is not little in terms of money as well as in terms of time. So no one can afford to make this kind of investment and fail to commit themselves. I do like the commitment that we have seen from our students so far, because the teacher will teach you, but then the teacher cannot read for you. You need to understand how things are being done, okay? So once you join our program, we usually keep on monitoring you, mentoring you. Once you schedule your exam, we link you with a mentor who will be doing individualized study so that you can pass your exam. So briefly, I want to tell you guys how the NCLEX works so that you can understand the kind of exam you're going to be doing, okay? So before I tell you what is happening in that graph, I want to first of all introduce to you the new generation NCLEX, which is what you're going to do, because the new generation NCLEX started being implemented on 1st April this year, that is 2023. Before that, people are doing the older generation, which is called the classic NCLEX. Okay. At Passcode Consultants, we started teaching the new generation NCLEX in January 2023. And the people who are testing since April in our program are doing the new generation NCLEX and passing it. So the NCLEX exam, kindly mute yourself. The NCLEX exam is a one-paper exam, which is an exam you do in 5 hours. Some of the questions we have been receiving so much at Passcode from our clients in West Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, is how do I travel all the way to South Africa to do an exam? Please note that you need to travel to South Africa today, do your exam tomorrow, and travel back tomorrow or the next day. It's just a 5-hour exam. It is a one-paper exam. Everything is combined into one paper. So they usually write as 300 minutes exam. And the exam has a maximum questions of 150, which you can do all or not. So you have a minimum of 85 questions. In the new generation NCLEX, majority of the questions, some of the questions will be MCQs, but you also get case study questions. Each case study will be having 6 questions. You'll also get some types of questions called multiple response questions. A multiple response question is a question that has more than one answer. So you select enough answers. And the mode of marking for this exam, you can get either positive mark or a negative mark. It is called a CAT. That is what I'll be explaining in the graph, computer adaptive exam. And the content is divided into 4 basic areas. Okay, so the integrated processes include things like communication, religion, culture. I mean, the US is a multicultural nation, so you have to know that when you're nursing people in the US, you have to nurse them with what we call cultural competent care, such that if someone is a gay, but for you, you don't identify with that, you cannot discriminate against them. You have to provide care to them. So let me show you the concept of a CAT or computer-based exam. So on the graph you can see on the screen, there's a green line there. So let's call that the passing threshold. It's line 0, the passing threshold. So what we have above that line is a pass, and what we have below that line is a fail. So NCLEX questions are usually divided into levels of difficulty. We have less difficult questions and more difficult questions. So once you start the exam, your exam can shut down at 85. That's the minimum you can do. You have to meet that standard. Or it can shut anywhere between 85 and 150 questions. So what the computer does, the computer measures your level of understanding from the 85th question. So how does the computer behave? Let's start from 0. Let's start from here. You can see the graph is going up. What this means is that this person who was doing this exam was getting the questions right. So since he was getting the questions right, the graph was moving up and away from the line of the threshold. But from around this point, the person started failing, getting questions wrong. So the computer started moving down. Up to here, he started getting them right again. The graph started moving up, and he continued with a bad trend until he went to below the passing threshold. So what it means here is that the person is doing easier questions. But what it means here is that the person is doing difficult questions. So if you do the first question in the NCLEX, you get it right, the computer awards you 1 point and then moves you 1 point away from the threshold on the difficulty side. Then the computer will give you the next question, and the computer will ensure that the next question is more difficult than what you have done. If you fail a question, the computer drops you 1 point, drops your graph by 1 point, and the computer gives you a less difficult question so that you can come back, because the computer tries to assist you to pass. It also doesn't want you to fail. So when you fail a question, it gives you a less difficult question. So when you are answering more difficult questions, you move away from this line. That means at the end of the 85th questions, you will have done more difficult questions than the less difficult questions, and the computer is going to shut down and you pass your exam. However, if by the end of the 85th question, you will have done more less difficult questions, that is more easier questions than the difficult questions, the computer is going to shut down and you will fail your exam. Another scenario, if you are doing questions that are difficult and easier, almost at the same rate, the computer will not be able to understand you by the 85th question. So the computer will continue giving you more questions until when it is able to understand you. And if you continue with the same trend, then the computer is going to give you all the 85 questions, or it will continue to give you questions until the 5 hours are over. So those are the scenarios that determine whether you pass or fail. So once you join our program, we usually teach this, the whole of these lessons slowly during the first week, which is the week of orientation. The first week of our program is the orientation week. So I think that's what I wanted to teach about the NCLEX program. This is a sample question. I'm not sure whether we have the time to do it, but before I hand over, I would like to mention something about our NCLEX review program, just to make sure that you understand it very well. So at Passcode, we have a vigorous NCLEX review program where we teach you about the NCLEX exam. We teach you how the exam is about, and we also teach you how to pass the exam. We bring to you people who have passed the exam so that they can tell you about their experiences. We have a 4-month NCLEX review program, and we usually have structured intakes. You don't join at any particular time. You can only join at a particular time when you have already scheduled your exam and you are having a crisis. So we do for you what we call a crash program, which is a bit different from our regular program. So for our regular program, it's a 4-month class. The next intake is, the next class is starting on August 7th. That's Monday, August 7th. The first week will be the orientation. And we usually do 3 classes per week. That is a class on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. East African time. We have left out Wednesday and Thursday to enable the students to do their studies so that for the module they are reviewing, because we have divided our curriculum into modules, they will be able to ask questions on Friday. But currently we are having so many people testing. So we have also added Thursday as a day of reviews, makeups, topic reviews. This is where the students request us to repeat some of the topics. So we have allocated Thursday to be doing the reviews. Sometimes we do the reviews even on Wednesday. So there are some weeks when you'll have all the days packed for the classes. So when you join this program of ours, we give you the revision materials, and we also give you NCLEX style questions. We also have a website, an online learning portal where you register yourself, get the logins, and you'll be able to access all the recordings, including for the previous classes and all the other materials that are necessary for the classes. So all the lectures are recorded and you're able to access them throughout the program, okay? So we also have frequent assessments. We assess you. We will not allow you to schedule. We will not accept the idea of you scheduling your exam when you are not ready, because that means you may not be able to pass your exam. And that will be a big loss to you because of the investment you have made. So once you are done with your exam, we encourage you to get a direct hire. If you don't want to get a direct hire, you want to go with a staffing agent, then please make sure that the staffing agent gives you a shorter contract as well as a better pay rate. Please do not make all this investment, then you go sign a contract that doesn't give you the value for your money as well as your time. So I can see some questions on chat. I don't know whether I should proceed and answer them or back to you, Donald. Maybe you can direct me.
Thank you very much, Humphrey. Well, I dropped off for a few minutes. That was an exemplary presentation. But just before we go on to the questions, the one question that is popping up is the question on cost and time. So if you can include it as part of your presentation before you sum it up, the cost for the NCLEX review program, or the cost that people incur when dealing with passcode, and the timeframes. Thank you.
Okay. I think I can go to say something about the costs that people incur in when doing the program. So when you want to start the NCLEX program, you need to prepare yourself with about $1,000. Let's talk in terms of dollars, because we have people from different nationalities in the meeting. And if you go to our website, we have posted the breakdown there. So I will be referring to that breakdown. And then I will use that breakdown to explain to you the cost implications. So allow me to share the website article that contains the breakdown. So the first cost you incur is our fee for doing your registrations. We charge $200. For Kenyans, we charge 20,000. So once you pay us the $200, we are going to take care of all your registrations until you do your exam. What do we do for you with the $200? I think I'm going to share another document that will show you what we do for you with the $200. So allow me to stop that a little bit. And then I share the document that shows you what the $200 will do for you. So if you look at this document that I have shared, this is about NCLEX registrations, cost $200, that is our fee. So we are going to do for you the document validation application with either CGFNS or JSA, and we are going to take care of to maintain that account until you do the NCLEX. And that may mean us maintaining the account for about 4 months or even 5 months, and even post NCLEX when you're doing the visa screen certificate. We are also going to register you with the Board of Nursing. So once we register you with CGFNS or JSA, we are going to give you the documents to take to a nursing council and your school of nursing, and we are going to upload your high school certificate in terms of the CGFNS. So we are also going with the same fee of $200. We are going to register with the Board of Nursing and also maintain that account for you until you do your exam. We are going to do for you, register you with a body that is chosen by the Board of Nursing, for example, Identigo or others. And then we are going to assist you with the process of fingerprint cards, criminal background check. We give you the physical cards because if you have to wait for them to be sent by the Board of Nursing, they are going to take like 4 months before they reach you from the US, because the boards usually take time because there are so many people who are making applications. So we have the cards in our office. So we send to you. If you're in Kisumu, we send with a parcel. If you're in Zambia, we also send to you in Zambia or even in Ghana, wherever. And also we support you with the jurisprudence exam. We prepare you for the exam. We give you the materials and we guide you, you do the exam and pass. We also apply for you the ATT, that is the examination card. We do for you Pearson VUE registrations. That's the body that administers the exam. And then we assist you with the international scheduling. As well, we do a guidance for you on how you are going to test to do the exam, to travel to do the exam. Some of these things may sound easy, but they are not. We have had instances before, that is not from our students, where people travel to South Africa, they get lost going to the test center. Others have not made the prior arrangements that are needed. They get rained on while going to the test center. They go take their exam when they are rained on, and your guess is as good as mine on the outcome of that exam. So we really give you support until you do your exam. That is the last minute. So that's what we do with the fee for the registrations. We take over your process and manage it for you. The next fee you are going to incur is the $450 if you choose CGFNS, and if you are choosing JSA, it's $400. But we are encouraging people nowadays to pay $420 so that they can also get a report, a copy of the report. So for JSA, if you want to get a copy of the report, you add $20. So that would be $420. So please, before I proceed, let me mention that all these costs adding up to about $1,450 minus the travel cost to South Africa, you don't pay all this money to us. To us, you only pay our fees. The fees for the other institutions, we guide you on how to pay, then you make the payments. So the next fee you are going to, after you have started the document verification, now you can join the NCLEX Review Program, and then you'll be doing the other things while you are doing the review program. So our NCLEX Review Program for the 4 months costs $300. For Kenyans, it's 30,000. So that 1,000 is going to take care of all the items I have shown you in the NCLEX Review Program. If I can just share this document again, although I have just mentioned them, these are the things that the 30,000 takes care of. The 4-month class every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. You will also be able to attend the makeup classes. That is on Wednesday and Thursday when they are scheduled. We give you the materials, we give you the questions. You access our online learning portal, and we also continue supporting you after 4 months is over. So moving on, the next fee you are going to spend is about $100 for the Board of Nursing. This can be more or less depending on the Board of Nursing you have chosen. And then you spend about $50. That's an estimate, because you actually, for some bodies, it's about that $80. And then for Pearson VUE, it's $200 to register with Pearson VUE. And then to schedule the exam is $150. I think the fee that is not included here is the fee for Nursing Council. The reason we have left it is because it varies per country. Like in Kenya, it's 12,000 Kenya shillings. In another country, it will be different. We have also left the fees for the School of Nursing. They will charge you some fee. Some schools will actually not charge, others will charge, because right now, so many people want to go to the US. So they are being disturbed by so many people. So they have introduced charges, even those that didn't have charges. So that will be like $100 or less, something like that. So if you add all the costs, you'll find it's about, say, $1,500 to do the entire process and actually do the exam. The only money that is not included here is the money to travel to South Africa or India. And the reason why we have not included this amount is because this document is for the global audience consumption. So if you are traveling from South Africa, from East Africa to South Africa or India, you're budgeting about $1,000. If you budget $1,000 USD, then you convert that to maybe a currency like Kenyan shilling, you find that that money will actually be excess. The other day we had a person who was able to travel to South Africa with about 70,000 Kenyan shillings. That's about $400 if I'm not wrong, or around that figure. For the people in South Africa, you are very privileged because the center is in your country. So you just take a bus to the test center. For the people in Zambia, I believe that, and Zimbabwe, some of you can also take a bus, go to the test center in Johannesburg, Sandton, and take the exam. There are also other people who travel to the US during the program. That is through a visitor visa. And they take the exam from there. We also have students in UK. So you just go to London, take the exam. We also have some people who have traveled to Canada while they're in our program. So you just schedule your exam at a center in Canada and you do your exam. So it's not a must that everyone has to do the exam in South Africa. If you can get a visa to go to London, take your exam there, that's okay. If you can go to Manila, that is in the Philippines, you can take your exam from there. If you can go to Dubai, there's also a center in Dubai, you can take your exam from there. So I was taught to talk about the cost and the timelines. So the pre-NCLEX process takes about 6 months. So that, like now we have an intake in August 7th. So we have been registering people with CGFNS and JSA. Those people will be going to class in August, study for August, September, October, November. They will be taking their exams in December, January, February. Okay, so I think that is done. So Donald, you tell me whether I'll continue answering the questions I can see on chat or what next.
Thank you very much, Leila. We see you. Karibu sana. Well, Humphrey, you've actually exhaustively answered most of the questions. I'm not really sure if we'll be able to take all the questions. I'll try as much as I can to limit the number of questions you are going to answer live so that people may have an opportunity to reach out to you and probably schedule a one-on-one call for specific specific questions. But since I lost some of the questions that we had earlier after my internet dropped, I'll go back to Kerobo if you are still with us. There were some questions that I'd been asked in the chat box and I saw you trying to respond to them. Is there any question from your side that you see in the chat box you can answer? And I believe, and I also know you had one item you had not you wanted also to put across.
Okay. Someone asked me how long it took. So I started my classes in November, 17th November. I was to test in May, but I didn't test in May because I had a newborn. My baby was 1 month old. So I had to wait until my baby was 3 months old to test in July. So it took me roughly post ATT. It took me February, March, 4 months, but it took me 3 months post classes. That is post classes. That is 3 months. Post ATT. That's 4 months. For that particular reason. Someone asked me how long my results came in. It varies. I did with New Mexico Board of Nursing. After 5 hours, I had my results. I had someone whose result was came after 1 hour. Someone asked me if I did it in South Africa. Yes. Someone has asked me if I saw in the chat box what I've done since I passed. So I've been doing various applications with various staffing and direct hire agencies, companies, and just like the way Humphrey said, do not rush to sign a contract. Passcode has been guiding me not to rush to sign any contract. So I've been still weighing my options because there are very many employers I'm looking at. I did not have working experience because when I joined Passcode, I was 2 months post-registration with NCK. When I've done my internship, and my NCLEX, that is 11 months post-registration. So actually, if you have your NCK license, that's all. So I really wanted to share, my emotional part of this journey. I think some of you might be going through something, but I want to share my emotional part. So I was just from a very traumatic experience. I was jobless. I had a very traumatic delivery experience. I was really in so much emotional stress, emotional pain. My mental health was on the verge of, I was losing it, but my tutor told me, take a break, take a 2 months break. That's why I took long. That's where my 2 months break came in, because I took 8 months. So I took the 2 month break. I nursed my young one. I took time to heal. I took time to be financially better, in a good place. And I took time to re-strategize, because before I was giving birth, I did not have a really good schedule of studying. I was doing things for the sake of doing them, for the sake of completing assignments, for the sake of joining classes, for the sake of just for the days to move. So I re-strategized. And so after the 2 month break, my tutor reached out and told me, how are you feeling? How's your emotional health? How's your mental health? And I was in a better place because I did not have pressure. So we re-strategized with my mentor at Passcode, and I took the exam. So I will tell you, I'm just a 25-year-old girl who has a newborn. I joined NCLEX. I joined Passcode within few months. I was walked through the journey, and I was able to pass NCLEX because I was committed, and I had people to push me through that. So no matter your situation right now, because I remember I was pumping milk. I was doing NCLEX and my milk was staining my t-shirt because I had too much milk. And that did not stop me from focusing. I really focused. I was expressing the milk and nilikuwa namwaga because I could not take it anywhere. So despite that, being a mother, a new mother away from your newborn, having sore breasts, swollen, sore nipples, I really had, I remember Edwin really walked me through that journey. So do not give up. Don't postpone your journey because of some things. It's very possible. And I think Passcode have really played a big part in my life, because I had agencies which wrote me mails telling me they cannot take me because I don't have experience. But Passcode walked me that journey, and right now I'm having very many people wanting to hire me, and now I'm gauging on the best person, and Passcode is still walking me through this journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kerubo. As you all be aware, the NCLEX journey is a mentally tasking journey. You'll need people and support around you to help you through the entire journey. Well, I don't think we'll be taking very many questions because I see most of them have been answered in the chat box. We also want to provide you an opportunity to reach out to Passcode through the contacts that have been provided in the in the chat box. But just Humphrey, I'd like you to address two things, just two. When is the next class after the August class? And secondly, we had a question on, all right, I see it has been answered. It has been answered. Robin, I think your question has been answered throughout the sharing of Kerubo. What is the next class? And if one already has assessed reports, they gave up the journey, what could you do to support them? Where could they pick up? And then lastly, for how long does an NCLEX result, what is the duration or durability of an NCLEX results? We know for IELTS probably is 2 years. What about NCLEX? Does it have an expiry date? If you answer the two, then we go to the call to action. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Donald. I will try as much as possible to address them. Kindly allow me to add a few others. I feel they have not been touched on, but I'll be very fast.
Yes, sure.
The first thing I need to address alongside what you have said, someone asked, will I get a green card after doing NCLEX? Yes. The visa you get, that is the EB3 visa, is an immigrant visa for the US. So it's like a green card sponsorship, which allows you to go to the US with your spouse and all the children who are below the age of 21. That is why we really want people to get information, because this is the right visa that you should get, the one that gives you permanent residence. You go to US after 1 month with a visa, after 1 month, you receive your green card. Someone asked if they have already scheduled their exam, can they benefit from our program? Yes, if you have already scheduled your exam, you can benefit a lot from program. We have what I talked about, the crash program. We are able to connect a tutor with you to walk the journey with you and do what we call an individualized study. Like this month of July, we have several people on the crash program because when they applied for the ATT, they thought it will come out with a 6-month limit, but it has come out with a 3-month limit. So some of them were not prepared, but we are doing the best we can to prepare them. They were not in our program. That's what I mean. Can one do NCLEX without joining an agency like has been mentioned there? Yes, indeed. That is what we do here at Passcode. We encourage you to do NCLEX by yourself before joining an agency. That is a staffing agent. Because once you do the NCLEX by yourself, there are so many benefits. Like you have heard from Deborah, she's receiving many invitations to accept job offers with different employers. And she's going to get a direct hire job, which means that money is not going to be deducted from her salary, and she's going to be a hospital employee with all the benefits of being a hospital employee as opposed to being a staff employee. So, but the biggest advantage, if you could ask me, is the fact that you are going to get your full salary, and of course, you are going to get a better pay rate per hour rather than when you're being sponsored. Someone asked if they are already in another agency, can they join our program and can they benefit from it? Yes, indeed, in our program, we have people who are with other agents, because in our program, we don't subject you to a contract. So we don't restrict you to join our program if you're already in another agency. If you, for example, you want to come to our program and do the NCLEX program only, that's okay. We allow that, and we will support you fully, just like the way we support other students who are with us, because our objective is to have you pass your exams and realize your dreams. How long are NCLEX results valid? The NCLEX results are valid for life. Once you get your license, the NCLEX license, it can expire, but what you need to do is just renew your license. You don't go take the NCLEX again. So that's actually why we encourage our students to start with the NCLEX exam, because the IELTS exam are valid for 2 years. We don't encourage you to start with the IELTS. We encourage you to start with the NCLEX because the results do not expire. Someone is asking if they already have a CS report, can they get assistance from us if they give up on the journey? Yes, you just give us, once we liaise with you and reach an agreement, you just give us your logins, then we are going to check the status of your CS report, whether it was issued or not. That will not be your problem again. It will be a problem because we are going to follow it up and have you resume your process. So I think I've addressed all the things that I was asked to. If I left any, please, I would be glad to be reminded about it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Humphrey. If you don't mind, you could again share the passcode contacts in the chat box for follow-up. Now, I'm going to do a call to action, and I'll begin with Kerubo. What is your short call to action to those who have attended today? What will be your final message?
My final message is don't, wherever you are in your journey, don't give up. And remember, do whatever it takes. Just do whatever it takes for you to pass the NCLEX, because that's the main agenda, I believe. That's why all of us attended this webinar today. So focus on the nursing education that might help you and do whatever it takes. Just do whatever it takes.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Humphrey, I'm not sure if you've had a glass of water, but again, I'm on your case. What will be your call to action?
Yeah, my call to action is for all the people who are interested in doing the US process, this is the right time to do it. Some of you have been reaching to us, telling us that there is retrogression. Does it mean I should wait? I would like to address that issue and say that retrogression is a normal issue that happens towards the end of a financial year in the US. So actually, this is the right time for you to do it, because if you have done NCLEX and by October, when the retrogression is likely to be eased, the easing of that retrogression finds you already having the NCLEX results. That means you are going to get your case completed very quickly, and you are going to actually spend less time to move to the US. So you should not let the US Embassy and the National Visa Center do their things. You just do your thing and forget about the naysayers, the people who discourage others. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Humphrey. Just one more question. I don't think we answered this one. Do you have a class after the August class?
Oh, yeah. Of course, yes, we will be having a class, but that class has not been announced yet. As of now, we have announced the August class, so the next class will be announced later. So let the people who are interested in the next class after August, let them kindly keep in touch. We are going to announce the same in our socials, and they will be able to know.
All right. Thank you very much. And my name is Ngalula Donald. I'm also a nurse in Kenya, but I work for an agency, for a nursing agency as the Quality Nurse Assurance in Field, Massachusetts. I've been your moderator today, and I wish you a great week ahead. For those ones who still have more questions and your question has not been answered, kindly please get in touch with Humphrey. Humphrey, probably you may also want to add the link to the cost so that people can maybe check them later. There's a link breaking down the cost of services. But before we close, normally we take a screenshot of the meeting for our records. So if you're able to unmute your video so that we take a group photo, I would really appreciate. If you're in a position to unmute your video, I'll be waiting. Very good. Somebody else? Yes. Yes, and at least put on a smile. I know it's on a Sunday. We are waiting. Tomorrow is Monday. Mondays are never good. But put on a smile so that our photos are good. All right. So take one. Just a minute. We're going to do a take two. All right. Make sure you're smiling. We are doing the second take.
I'm aware of you have group photo. Oh, for you? No, God.
Yes, please. Let her come. Let her come.
Oh, she will come. She's coming.
All right, and we are taking to 1, 2, 3, go. Thank you very much. You have been a beautiful audience. I wish you all the best, and we can all unmute and say good night and have a good week ahead.
I'm staring for you, Mama. Not me. I'm not taking it.
Good night.
Good
night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Take care.
Good night.
This girl, getting contact with the particular Caribou. She came to Africa.